This podcast is brought to you by Australia's LGBTQIA+ community media organisation, Joy. Keep Joy on air by becoming a member, a subscriber or donate. Head to joy.org.au. Joy, a diverse sound for a diverse community.
And welcome to Still Here, Still Queer on Joy 94.9. You know what Still Here, Still Queer is? It's Joy's program focused on people from our community who are 50, age 50 plus. So we have some great guests for you tonight. And Gillian, who is one of the co-hosts, is normally in tonight, but she is over in Tenerife in the Canary Islands, making a TV program. So she'll be back in a couple of weeks. But we have the wonderful Phil sitting in as a co-host.
That's me.
That's Phil. And also tonight, for the first half hour anyway, we have Jenna Juke, who is the newish CEO of Switchboard here in Victoria. So welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Okay. And we also have Peter Naughton, who is involved in the program called Out and About, which is a program of Switchboard. And we will be talking about that program a little later as well.
Good to be with you.
And Out and About's a peer visiting program for older members of our community. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But I thought first we could get to Jenna. You're a bit newish in the community. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about yourself and what you expect to do in Switchboard, and particularly with a focus on plus 50s.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have so much to say. I've just ticked over, I think, 8.5 months. Every now and again, so people ask me quite regularly, so I'm keeping a regular count on it. So I started at Switchboard as the CEO late January this year. However, like so many LGBTQIA plus people in Victoria, I've had quite a long connection with Switchboard. I worked with Switchboard supposedly in a tiny little supervision consultant role in 2017, 2018, but shortly after I started, the marriage equality postal campaign debacle was announced, so I ended up working really closely with Joe Ball and I think our 3 or 4 part-time staff and 100 volunteers at that point in 2017.
Such a huge time in history that was.
Such a huge time in history. And Switchboard did such extraordinary work supporting community at that time. And so
was something that was so potentially positive.
Yeah.
There was a lot of negative.
There was so much
spinning
harm,
around. Yeah.
Wasn't there? So much harm, so much distress in community.
So it's good to have somebody there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Switchboard at that point mobilised, I think we maybe tripled our volunteers who were on the lines providing support at that point. And I guess my background in terms of where I've come from, I've actually worked largely in sexual assault, family violence, mental health services for 25, 30 years. But I have a real kind of passion for health and community services where we're working with people, but where there's a really solid political analysis and advocacy framework. So doing that systems work and working with the people.
Sounds like Switchboard to me.
Sounds a lot like Switchboard. And I've been volunteering at Switchboard for the last 4 years before having this great honour of coming in as the CEO.
Fantastic. And we're going to talk with Peter about the Out and About program a little later on, but you mentioned outside that you have other programs running for 50-plus-year-olds, and particularly in regional Victoria, so maybe we could hear a little bit about that.
That's right. We were so excited. We started talking at 5 to 6 and now we needed to stop, and now I'm going to start again now that we're actually on air. So we're here today. Peter's going to talk about Out and About, which is our visiting program, friendship program. But we actually have another program. It's a 3-year pilot program funded by the Victorian government. It's called Pride in Ageing. So we're looking at, I guess, providing opportunities working with older LGBTI people in regional Victoria, and building opportunities for social connections. So we're in Warrnambool. We've got a worker embedded, so we're not just kind of visiting. We've got a worker who's living and working in the local areas. We've someone in Warrnambool, Jen in Warrnambool, Natalie up in Wodonga, Daniel in Gippsland, and momentary mental blank. Golden Plains is Merrin, of course. How could I forget Merrin, famous Merrin? We'd love to come in and talk about that at some point. I was actually in Warrnambool on Tuesday this week for a Seniors Week event, the launch of the Warrnambool Pride in Ageing program, and it was such a beautiful occasion. We had maybe 30 people at the Warrnambool Library.
Sounds wonderful.
It was wonderful.
And particularly in regional Victoria, I guess. We'd love to hear more about the Pride in Ageing program, because obviously people in country Victoria are more prone to being left out of things and needing care and communication with other members of our community, I suspect.
Social isolation, I think, is a reality.
Is it more common now for people to come out in regional areas? Because it used to be you go to the city and then you come out.
There's a very long history of that, going to the city. And I guess this week, I've been out and about this week. So on Wednesday, I was actually with Minister Stitt, who's the Minister for Mental Health, and they were launching the Diverse Communities Mental Health and Wellbeing Framework. And I sat on this great panel discussion afterwards, and there was a young person there, and I can't remember his name, but he's from Gippsland, working in the HAY program. And he talked about how extraordinary it was for him as a young queer person in Gippsland to meet the owls, the older wise lesbians who were out and about in Gippsland. So I think there is... I'd love for Ro and the team to come in and talk to you more about that, because I don't want to make a general statement that might not be accurate, because I think it's real. We know that our communities can face discrimination and violence everywhere, and I think there are probably some stereotypes about regional areas which are not right.
It'd be nice to update our knowledge on reality. What's happening. And
also be part of the change, which I guess is what Switchboard is trying to do, is actually promote safety, promote connection.
And absolutely, we'll be in contact with you as soon as this program ends.
Book the next one.
Or Monday.
We'll be keen.
You can go home and have your Sunday night.
Can I quickly sneak in? Like when Switchboard started, we were very 100% volunteer-based, started by a gay man, a lesbian woman, Heather and David, and it was a helpline, volunteer helpline, and a lot of the work we were doing at that point was working with all parts of the community. But I guess in the early 90s, 1991, we were kind of at the height of kind of AIDS. There are a lot of gay men ill and dying, and we were also seeing a huge waves of homophobic violence and hatred and fear.
And there was panic too.
And there was panic, a lot of fear in community. That was 1991. In 1992, Switchboard was banned from the white pages. It's one of my favourite facts.
That's an amazing fact I did not know.
Because it was gay and lesbian Switchboard, and you couldn't have the words gay and lesbian in the white pages in 1991. So we've come a long way in many ways. Switchboard now has close to 60 staff and more than 100 volunteers. We still do have what's now Q-Life, which is the volunteer-based, but also paid workers on the helpline.
The phone book no longer exists.
And the phone...
outlived it.
That is great. We've outlived the phone book.
I love it.
We've got a couple of helplines. We also have the Rainbow Door. We do suicide prevention work. We do a lot of anti-racism work. We have a Rainbow Families program, Out and About, Pride and Ageing. But we're here to talk about Out and About.
Peter Naughton's one of the people working on the Out and About program. So tell us about the Out and About program, Peter.
Thanks, Pete. I guess at its heart, the Out and About program is about community and connectivity and intergenerational connections. The program has been running for about 10 years. Well, 10 years ago it started in 2015, and it really is about facilitating relationships that would otherwise not be possible. We connect volunteers in matches with senior Rainbow community members. So there's lots of different ways that people can connect with the program. But really it's finding that linking point for people to participate in a new friendship that would otherwise not happen, So it's really utilising the program, and then after the match starts, then it's an open-ended sort of opportunity for people to put their own sort of rhythm into it.
And do you match generations together?
So
some of the volunteers are younger people matching with older people to...
But basically the overwhelming majority of the volunteers are in their 20s, 30s, that kind of age bracket, often students and people interested in exploring community connections in different ways. And our participants are... north of 60 generally, and all the way up to 90s, and they live in a variety of arrangements, either in care or in independent living arrangements, and the lifestyle and the interests and the history of the participant really guides us in how we connect to the volunteer. So it's very much a human-centred program that listens to what the participant's journey of life has been, and then finding an appropriate match. And there's lots of different elements that we navigate here. Obviously geography is one of them, because we're Vic-wide, so we have participants and volunteers all around the state. But in addition to that, we're one community, the Rainbow community, but we're not one identity. So
Correct,
when you're nurturing friendships, it's not always an easy sort of 1+1 equation. There's lots of different people's identities, their sexuality, their lived experience. So that we really put a lot of effort into finding a match that's going to have that potential.
And also what they find fun, hey?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Do they like reading? Do they like movies?
Yeah.
Do they...
Musicals.
Yeah, musicals, yeah.
Do you find that some people find their own matches that you wouldn't have guessed?
Well, I'm surprised all the time, because I think any human-centred program brings up all the divine and magnificent diversity within our society. So we've got lots and lots of, situations where, people come together and then they either match really well, or in other cases they may not match really well. So we are very much, like I say to my friends, I'm a matchmaker, because I navigate all these unknowns, or so the thrill for me is really that first match where you see the people come together, and I'm always entertained and perplexed by the diversity of people's experiences. So sometimes we have a situation, I did have one situation where after the match, one of the participants didn't really feel that they could commit to the connection, like it didn't sort of flow for them. And that's fine, that can happen. We've all got those different preferences and things. But then, another match, for example, I'd been sitting with these two for about an hour and a half, and I said, look, I've really got to, get on, move along. And they were like, oh, we'll just stay here. And then I found out later they were there for another hour and a half. So there can be some great sort of sparks that happen.
Yep. And are there challenges in running a program statewide like that? Because I know, people are you said a lot of the people are in aged care facilities, etc. I know I'm 70 and I'm a bit scared of aged care.
Yes.
Not ready for it yet, but does that issue come up a lot?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there are some participants who are not actually out to their service providers, or even sort of some members of their family. So we respect those situations very carefully, because we really want to be a safe space and an inclusive space for that. So there's also a lot of diversity within the volunteers, and so when we're thinking about those matches, sometimes the analogy is like we're all swimming in the same pool in the same direction, but there's lots of different lanes in that pool. So, a trans femme volunteer may not be the perfect match for a cis male participant, and those things may come through in your interviews process. So the geography plus the diversity within our community does create some challenges. So it's not, it doesn't mean it's, it just takes a bit more time, basically. Yeah.
When I started this year in my role was it was during Midsummer, and it was a couple of weeks before Pride. And one of the most kind of standout moments for me kind of at the march was one of our out and about. There were a lot of people there, sort of staff, volunteers, and people sort of with visitors, people participating in the Out and About program. And one of the older participants in Out and About came along with their friend through Out and About. And he said to me afterwards, he was a man in his late 70s, and he said, "This is the first time I've marched in Pride. And I wouldn't have been able to get here if it wasn't for my Out and About friend visitor."
And it's also reinforcement that you're not the only gay in the village.
And you're not the only gay in the village. Yeah. And it meant so much for him to be able to come. Yeah. And we often organise a bus too. We organise an Out and About bus for Pride March. So to
bring people down.
To bring a little minibus.
March, yeah.
It's got kind of, because people might not be able to walk the 2Ks in the 40-degree heat. A lot of us struggle with that.
I know that feeling.
A lot of us know that feeling. So we're really interested in looking at ways to kind of, I guess it's very much about reducing isolation, friendship, connection with community.
And once you're isolated, getting out of that is a massive challenge.
Massive challenge.
But if people know that you're there, that's step one.
Yeah. And to your question before about the coming out aspect, I think a lot of people, as they get into those senior years, if they are moving into aged care, etc., they can still be out, but they don't feel like they're connected to community. So they've got great people who provide for them in lots of ways around them. They're not totally isolated, but they're not having that, conversation, that joyful cultural connection that you get when you're with another person from the rainbow community. And I see that all the time, that sort of spark of enjoyment and just commonality that comes out in the thread of conversations when you
don't have to edit what you say or what you think.
Absolutely.
You can just be you, and that's power that you rarely get.
And just that cheeky humour that we kind of fall into in the queer community. Or
I wouldn't know anything about that.
But so, I see these 85-year-olds coming out with some of the best humour and really, raising eyebrows for the younger people, etc. So it's just lovely to see how our culture can exist in a smaller space, like creating space in all these little pockets, is a really important part of how we live. Yeah.
Do you have any problems with any aged care facilities? Like,
some are better than others.
Do you work with them individually, or how do you work on that?
Look, some are better than others. I'll give a call out for Life View Aged Care, who have got a full rainbow. They were the first rainbow accredited aged care provider, and they do an incredible job. And I will say that a lot of aged care providers are trying to engage with the program, and that's part of my job, is outreach and connection with providers. We've got these new aged care standards, which gives us a new opportunity, I guess, to re-engage those conversations. But a lot of it comes down to discretion and the emotional sort of intuitive capacity of the staff to create that connection for a referral. So some lifestyle coordinators are a lot more progressive and, really advocate for their residents.
Would it help just to have the facility know that it's okay to be gay? Well, it's just, it's not a disease. It's not a disability.
Yeah.
they don't need to do much more than just understand that that's who we are.
Yeah. And I think we see providers with a whole range of different levels of awareness. We also know that a lot of providers
that's
maybe faith-based organisations, and so there can be some additional kind of barriers there. But then also some of the faith-based organisations have been the most proactive around working with older rainbow communities.
And getting the rainbow tick code.
Yeah, that's right.
Well.
So it is, it's interesting because I think for some, I mean, you probably talk about this all the time, but for some older people, when they go into care, they might find themselves going back into the closet. It's not safe to be out.
That would be a fear of a lot of people.
Yeah, and then there are other people who can actually acknowledge their sexuality for the first time, perhaps after a partner's kids
happens.
are grown up. That also happens.
And so it's nice to know they feel safe to do that.
Yeah, if they're in a facility where there's permission for that and people able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
We try and get out. We've got some material like, out and about postcards and flyers, and, we do find a lot of the providers are happy to display that, and also to some staff happy to wear the Ally rainbow, badge on their lanyard and that kind of thing. So visibility, conversations starting just from simple little symbols like that can be really powerful as well.
I know personally a rainbow badge can open a lot of really silly questions, like, do you know what that is? And I was like, do you know what that is? And that just opens the door. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's one little badge.
Absolutely.
So how can people get in contact with that? I mean, radio is an interesting thing because people can listen to it in headphones as well. So often our show has people who are not particularly out, but they're listening. So how can people get in contact with the program?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, we're really interested in volunteers as well who may be listening. It's participants are able to nominate themselves. So, if you're interested and you're listening, you can get in touch with us at Out and About at switchboard.org.au, which is the most simple way to reach out.
That's an email.
Sorry, that's our email address. And within the system, like within the aged care system, you can also do referrals through that as well. If anyone's listening who does work in aged care, that can be done through that. And through our volunteers, we do have onboarding. We have info sessions where volunteers can just come on in a half hour and get a really good overview of the program, what's involved and what it looks like. And then there's an onboarding. There's a little bit more rigour that obviously for the right reasons we put our volunteers through in terms of police checks and references and interview and that kind of thing. So we ensure safety for our participants.
And the volunteers can be of any age, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And some of our volunteers are actually older too.
Yes.
Like I remember working with Out and About volunteers in 2017 and there were a number of older people saying, I remember someone saying, when I get to aged care, I want people to be visiting me.
Yep.
And this means a lot.
Yep.
Like this, he was an older
so we
man.
have volunteers who are in their 70s, which is great.
Yeah, and volunteering feels good.
It feels good.
It's a drug-free high.
It's, And can I add a couple of other things just in terms of referral options? Like absolutely that email address is a good one, but we know that there are people need lots of different ways sometimes to get in, so we try and keep as many doors open as we can. So referrals can be made online via an online form, phone, post or email, and people can make a referral themselves, or it can be a family or a friend, could be a service provider, a clinician, a support worker. You don't have to do it yourself. Someone can help you do it. We don't have a fax anymore.
Oh, well, those were the good old days.
Yeah, and something else that's maybe important to say is that it's free. There's no cost involved. Yeah, for volunteers or participants.
Is it supported by other organisations as well as Switchboard, or just the Switchboard?
It's funded by both. It's largely
Out and About's funded by ACVIS, which is the Australian Community Volunteer Visiting Program. So there's lots of different Out and About. There's lots of different communities that work under the ACVIS program, which is wonderful to think about that different communities of all areas have got that sort of support to connect elders with visitors in their specific groups. But yeah, that's part of, and we're also funded by VicGov at the same time.
But where we've at the, I suppose, the specialist aged care visiting program funding. So there's a sort of recognition that the mainstream providers that queer elders might not feel so comfortable accessing a mainstream service and being visited by someone who may not have as much understanding of what it means to be an older queer person. And so that's why there's recognition through this government funding to Switchboard.
And they can come to you and know how they're going to be treated.
Yeah, have a level of confidence. Yeah.
Still here, still queer. We'll tell you what to do. And you are on Still Here, Still Queer. And we have our wonderful guests, Jenna Juke, CEO of Switchboard, and Peter Naughton, who's involved with the Out and About program. And we've been talking about the Out and About program. You had a few extra things you wanted to say about that?
There are a couple of things to point out. We are partnering with VPC and LifeView on this really exciting event at the VPC on the 29th of October. It's a Wednesday.
Fantastic.
It's an afternoon event from 1:30 till 3:30. And really it's community event bringing together seniors, but also carers and volunteers are welcome to join. We're going to have a drag queen called Bobby Pin. I gave dramatic pause for Bobby Pin, who'll be doing a drag quiz.
You don't need to wear one in your hair. You can just
a musical drag quiz. And we'll have the fabulous Joe Ball, who will be coming on board to make a formal acknowledgement and also announce the beginning of this community group called 50 Plus, which will be ongoing at the VPC. So this is really a VPC event with the partnership of LifeView, but Out and About couldn't help but get involved. So yeah, it's really a good one to keep an eye on, and we'll all be there.
And I'm going to go now too, now that I've heard about it. So
you can get your tickets if you go onto the VPC website and go to events. There's an Eventbrite link down on the 29th of October. So by all means, jump on. The other thing I wanted to mention is the 1300 basically, I'm going to give you the number for Q Life, which is a really great gateway for all of the services that we provide at Switchboard. 1300 595 727.
You better give it again in case someone's trying to write it down. Give it again in case someone's writing it down. 1300 555 727. That's funny.
The CEO's writing is not so clear.
And I don't have my glasses on. The over 50s.
We're both over 50, by the way.
Earlier we talked about engagement with participants. We do have a 60 age bracket, but we also have a 50 entry for First Nations people, which just basically acknowledges the gap and just engages more group. And then the other thing
that's for the Out and About.
That's for the Out and About,
not the meeting. That's,
no.
That's 50 plus.
I'm jumping back into the Out and About onboarding participants and volunteers. But yeah, that's a 50, the age 50 plus for First Nations as opposed to the 60. And then the other thing I did want to flag, you've mentioned I'm part of Out and About, but I've worked with a really great team. So it's good to acknowledge that Meredith Butler and Jules Garside are both part of our coordinated team. And, you know, we really endeavour to support our volunteers and our participants as best we can. So it's a really friendly and inclusive vibe if anybody wants to come and join us.
Okay, fantastic. And the event sounds like a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, and it's such a great venue down here at the VPC for things like that.
Do you have to register an RSVP or
There's an
something?
Eventbrite link on the VPC website, so people can just go on there and register and come along.
Okay, fantastic. So the VPC site is victorianpridecentre.org.au, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's how you get to that, and I think you can get it through the events link on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I know you have to leave pretty soon, so thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much for having us,
Janet, and also Peter.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Great.
And
good
I'm
luck
sure
with the
we'll see
program.
you back here because this show is
Talk to you on Monday.
aimed at the people that you're talking about and you're aiming your programs at as well. So
And
thank
we
you,
ain't getting any younger.
for coming back. No, I'm
be
getting
back
a lot
soon.
older.
We're all aging at the same rate, I hear.
True story.
Although it seems faster when you get older.
Thanks for listening to another Joy podcast, brought to you by Australia's LGBTQIA+ community media organisation, Joy. Help us keep Joy on air. Head to joy.org.au. Joy, a diverse sound for a diverse community.